Well, on Election Exchange today, we're now joined by the Chief Minister of Goa, Mr. Manhor Parrikar. Mr. Parrikar, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18. Let me start by asking you about the mining ban in your state. It was a ban that you imposed. It was then taken forward by the Supreme Court. There is hope that a final order in this matter will be delivered by the Supreme Court, perhaps by the end of this month. The likelihood is that the Supreme Court will in fact lift the ban, but the kind of restrictions that are likely to be imposed is where the grey area is. What are your assumptions at this point in time?
No, any restriction which basically takes care of environment and proper management of the movement of the ore, that means the legality part of it, are welcome. Government has already put in steps and we are in position to put those restrictions on place. There is no harm in them.
But are you in favor of a cap? Which is what a committee has been set up to look into, because my understanding is that the state government is not in favor of a cap on mining.
No, there is a basic logic. The cap concept has to be explored, as I feel. Where do we cap? Cap it for a local mine, cap it for a village, cap it for a taluka, cap it for state, or cap it for country. This is my concept about it. A cap should be basically production cap. It has to be across country. The country has to decide.
So you're saying there has to be uniformity across every state?
Yes, and it has to be decided as a country as a whole. You cannot have a, what do you mean by intergeneration equity for only a restricted area? It cannot be. The area has to be across the nation. So cap has to be based on the nation as a whole. For an individual mine, the cap exists through an environment clearance certificate.
Right.
There is already a cap. The cap we are proposing is because of logistic and other problems. So if there is no logistic problem, and if proper exploration is carried out based on the real quantum of the ore, I feel that cap can be decided, but I don't think you should call it a cap. You can allow things to be controlled based on economy also.
But who should take that call? Should the state government take that call?
Obviously.
Because as of now, it seems
state government has to take it.
And what
state government and central government together has to take it.
But what if
I feel that if required, the appropriate laws has to be
amended, both at the state level as well as at the central level?
Wherever required.
Okay. You said that a lot of things have been put in place to actually facilitate the restarting of mining. Let me ask you about the e-auction process, where you actually have been given the clearance to be able to auction the 11 million tons that are still lying within the state. Where do things stand? How soon can we see this process take off?
It's not 11 million tons. It's more
than that, 11.48.
Yeah, there's no figure written in the Supreme Court order, but what is important is available ore. So we have started the auction. 17th February, I think, is the first lot, about 7-8 lakh tons, almost a million, which is mostly lying on jetties and port, which is being cleared. So that jetties get cleared, an empty plot, we can start movement of the ore from the pit heads, mine heads.
So you're saying on the 17th, the first auction will take place?
Probably will take place.
Okay. You've also spoken about, or there have been reports of differences as far as your opinion is concerned on the buffer zone. Environmentalists believe that the buffer zone should be at least 10 kilometers. You believe that it should be at least 1 kilometer. And you believe if it's 10 kilometers, all activity will come to a virtual halt as far as states like Goa are concerned.
First of all, the buffer zone concept is not understood by me at all. When you have declared a particular area as a wildlife, you have already taken into consideration the buffer zone.
Right.
What we are talking is a eco-sensitive area beyond wildlife. It depends on the situation. First of all, if there is a big river, then where does whatever logic is being expressed stand? So it will depend on the local area, how the buffer zone is devised. The concept, once it is understood, please leave it to the local area specific to decide how much buffer should be there. So because you cannot you cannot have the same shirt fit all.
Yeah.
To believe that one particular size of can be given to everyone to fit. So it has to be a local dependence.
You know, the the report now seems to have swung the other way, from saying that you were anti-mining, anti-corporate and all of that. Now the suggestion seems to be that Manhor Parrikar is actually turned pro-mining, turned pro-industry, and things like relaxation as far as the buffer zone is concerned is a swing towards that direction. How do you respond to that criticism?
In fact, I don't believe in buffer zone. Eco-sensitive zone, okay. But buffer zone is already taken into consideration when wildlife is notified. And most
so
of
you're
the
saying there's no need for any additional...
Wildlife already has a buffer zone. Secondly, I believe that it should be area specific. There may be area where 10 kilometers is also required. I'm not saying that, but don't make it as a general rule that you...
It has to be 10 or 5 or whatever the case.
From at all. It was 10 kilometers initially put up during Vajpayee's time for consideration as one of the discussion points. But if I suppose I accept 10 kilometers for Salim Ali Bird Sanctuary, then all city of Panji also comes under it. Now, do you think that Panji is a sensitive zone for a bird sanctuary? For a bird sanctuary, there is on three sides there is water. On the other side, half a kilometer is more than adequate. Not even half a kilometer. 300 meters is more than adequate. So you have to be site specific based on the actual ground reality. And if required, why 10 kilometers? It can be 100 kilometers also if required. For example, Andaman Nicobar may have a eco-sensitive.
So it has to be relevant to the area that is concerned. Let me, move forward now, and whatever the court decides to do, whether it's on the 20th of February as is expected or later or earlier, let me ask you about the mechanisms that you are actually putting in place. And let me quote you what you had said. You said we need clear laws and strict implementation instead of a moral debate on the issues of mining. It exists. Let's tackle it. What has the government done to put in place a mechanism that will ensure that you don't have unrestricted, unregulated mining activity?
The basic logic is we have notified transportation rules. No one can just come up and start transporting ore.
Which is what was happening. There were only 8,000 registered truck owners, but 16 to 20,000 were actually operating in the state.
Now only the truck which has a proper recognition by the government with whatever mechanism, whether it is a barcode mechanism, whether it is a radio frequency use, we will decide about that, and that will immediately get implemented when this e-auction takes place, because that movement will be regulated through this mechanism. We can take the trials. We'll also monitor it at the export point. Most of the Goan ore is exported. So we can fit all those kind of equipments, and we'll do it. Unless that is in place, we'll not allow the movement to take place.
Okay, so that's as far as the transport side is concerned or the logistics side is concerned. What about the actual mining activity?
Mining activity, extraction can be also regulated through direct monitoring. The technologies are available. You have to deploy them. You have to use the latest technology for it.
But for years, state government after state government, they failed to do so. I mean, the indictment has come in from the Shah Commission. The indictment has come in from the Supreme Court. I agree that, let the moral debate be aside, but the fact of the matter is that these technologies were already in place.
Up to 2009, are you aware of what is the revenue state was getting for the mining? It was ₹9 per ton, between 7 rupees to 13 rupees. Average was 9 in Goa. It is only in 2009 September, there onwards, then the royalties going to the state has been increased to 10%. Thereby now today per ton we get something like 150 rupees to 250. Sometimes even 400 if the ore is rich. So first of all, expecting state to invest into areas where the income itself was a small quantum was wrong. Secondly, even today, when I get 1 rupee, central gets 7 rupees out of mining, whereas they don't face the ecological. So there requires to be balance in the quantum of money which the state and central gets on mining. That is one. Secondly, now we have in place, for example, for every ton of ore transported, we take 20 rupees cess for doing all this activity. We have put those notification in place. So the one who extracts, one who transports, has to take into consideration the cess and the expenses they will have to bear towards this modernization. Can't help it. Today we can afford, they can also afford. Maybe 10 years back down the line, it was not affordable, not even 10 years. 6 years down the line, it was not affordable for state government to invest money into that.
So do you believe today, if the court were to lift restrictions, was to lift the ban as far as mining is concerned, your government is ready to start the process of mining, but in a regulated fashion?
Are you aware of our affidavit? I have made it very clear to the Supreme Court in my affidavit that to govern is my responsibility. If I do something, send me to the jail. But don't stop me from governing. You do
believe that this is a situation of judicial overreach?
No, they didn't take into consideration. It was actually the applicant lied to the court. They should have been taken for task for it. It was during the earlier government what was happening. Not during this government. We had just come in. And there was only 2 months after that, the mining during rainy season mining stops. So only 1.5 months, March and April, the mining went on during my tenure. I was taking the advantage of the rainy season to put things in order. When I had already started actions, when this ban
came. So you do believe that this was a situation where there was judicial overreach?
No,
because you had already imposed the ban.
I am not saying it is judicial overreach. The only complaint I have that this decision of banning should have been tackled by the court within 6 months maximum. Did anyone realize the impact, financial impact it had on the state?
How much is the state lost?
25% of the revenue. 1 lakh people render business without business. I could manage, otherwise it would have been difficult for me to even pay the salaries of the employees. Are we really serious about all these consequences of what we do? I don't mind. Courts have its right. Ban, perfect. Then if you are wanting to ban, then hear it day to day and solve it. Basically the problem is, finally because these issues we brought, court allowed us to do the e-auctioning because some money will come to the state. How well do I replace this 25% revenue? You are taking away my 25% of the revenue. So your ban has that impact. In that case, you quickly decide. It is 16 months now. This year has not come. At least last time the court was flexible enough for allowing the export of this ore. This export could have been allowed us during last year.
You know, you were speaking about, I'll get to the exchequer and the impact as far as this ban is concerned, and your vision to take Goa to a 15% GDP number. But let me ask you a quick question on exports before we move on. And there have been representations from the domestic industry that they're now willing to pick up the low-grade ore as well. Where do you stand on that issue?
I have a problem. But they are doing it mainly because they are not getting any ore from anywhere. That is why they are showing this willingness. The moment they get ore, they will disappear.
So you don't believe that there should be any kind of a cap as far as exports are concerned?
No, there cannot be cap for Goa's ore, because Goa's ore in normal circumstances will not be picked up by local industry.
Which has been the case so far.
They have never picked up. Who stopped them? If, for example, any exporters, Goa, Timlos, whoever are there, if they are paid better price by the local buyers, why should they export it? They are exporting it because they get better price in the international market. The local industry wants it at a cheaper rate. That is the only question mark. Actually, they do have advantage because the export 30% money goes in export duty. So they do have advantage. Even then, they were not picking it up.
So do you believe that there should be any kind of restrictions as far as exports are concerned? Because now that seems to be the demand or the direction that the local industry is taking.
I will not expect in normal circumstances export of a rich ore, because value addition at national level is a very important aspect. But there are dumps which the local industry cannot consume. I think we should, or there are ores which are low grade ores which are better exportable. This is the right time because the international community is starved of it. See, we have already given one chance to the international community to explore and find out more ore resources in their countries, because Goa and India's 110 million ton export, around that much is the export, that quantum has disappeared from the market. So alternative sources were being hunted around. Maybe in Australia, maybe Vale was doing it in
But you also believe that there was an international conspiracy? I mean, you know, not to take away from the fact that there were serious problems with the way that mining activity was being conducted.
That there was a conspiracy, but I do believe that when the things started happening, some people might have pumped in some money to sort of claim it.
Companies from countries like Australia.
No one planned and do it. No, I'm clear on that. No one planned to do it, but when things went wrong, they might have just fanned it.
Which is opportunistic business.
Someone might, it is a normal, any businessman will try to do that. Nothing wrong about doing that.
Okay, let me move away from mining and talk to you about your vision as far as Goa is concerned. And I know that you believe that you can actually take GDP growth to 15%. It's fallen from 2010 to about 8.4%. You hope that by the end of this fiscal you should close at 12%. Are you on target to do that?
Yes, obviously. Minus mining, my growth is even.
All right, so that's the word coming in from the Goa Chief Minister on the state mining ban, and of course their sister light is a stock to watch out for in lieu of those comments. That's the CNBC TV 18 exclusive interview for the day. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back with more stock-specific action right here on Business Lunch. Stay with us.